Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to overcome the fear of driving using some dice and a pen and paper. My name's Paul and I work online with people all over the world to help them overcome their fear of driving after having spent 20 years as a driving instructor. This video contains a fun technique that you'll enjoy doing, especially if you do it with someone else. Now you can do this on your own, but it's just a little bit more difficult. If you do it on your own, you'll need the dice. If you do it with someone, all you really need is pen and paper. And what this does is it's going to mix up what happens. So I often say in my videos that driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving, and that's true. And I also talk about symptoms and how the anxiety is a symptom and not the root cause. This video will not fix the root cause, but what it can do is scramble the symptoms. So it makes it so that when you're driving, what normally happens doesn't happen. So let's say you start to panic and your hands freeze on the wheel and you start shaking and sweating. This can remove those symptoms. It won't necessarily fix everything, although it can for some people, but it's designed to help as many people as I can. So let's get on with it. What I need to do is, first of all, this will work better for you if you are someone who struggles with hypnosis or relaxing or focusing on things in your mind, because some people find that harder to do than others. If that's the case, this will work really well for you. It doesn't matter if that's not the case, it will also work as well. It's also really handy if you can identify several steps or stages in your problem. So we're going to go through this in a moment, but some people say, well, the first thing that happens is I always get stomach pains, then it goes to a tightness in my chest, then my hands start sweating. If you don't have a clear set of steps that happens like that, this is probably not the best thing for you to do. However, you can still give it a go. But we're going to make up a series of steps. So imagine you're sitting with a friend and your friend is effectively the therapist. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to write down between 4 to 7 steps of what actually happens when the problem begins. So I'm going to make this up, but I'm going to write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to do this with 5 imaginary steps. So let's pretend that when I go out driving, the first thing that happens is I get a stomachache. So I'm going to write down 1, stomachache. Let's imagine the next thing is my chest gets a bit tight. So 2, chest goes tight. And then let's say number 3 is that my shoulders start to ache. And these are all very common things that clients have said to me over the years with hundreds of people I've helped. Number 4, sweaty palms. Let's say your palms of your hands start sweating. And number 5 is, let's say, you grip the wheel really tightly. So we've got there 5 things. You need to have at least 4. You'll see why in a moment, and I'll tell you a funny story about how this went wrong when I did this with a client once. So if you only have 1, 2 or 3 steps, you'll see why it won't work. You can have more than 7, but that can be difficult to make it work, as you'll see why in a moment. So 3 to 7 steps is ideal. So what you do is you then need to be able to recall these steps in your mind. So if your friend is saying to you, what's step 1? And you say, stomachache. What's step 2? My chest goes tight. Now I'm having to read this because I'm making this up. It's like role play. But for someone who's really got the problem, they'll be able to do this easily. Step 3, shoulders aching. Step 4, sweaty palms. Step 5, gripping the wheel tightly. And you need to run through this until the person who has the problem can remember each step clearly. if they're thinking, oh, he's at step 2, 4, you've got to make sure they can say 1, stomach ache, 2, chest goes tight, 3, shoulders ache, 4, sweaty palms, 5, gripping the wheel. Do it again. 1, stomach ache, 2, chest goes tight. Run through 3 times in a row at least. They must get it correct. Unless they've done that, you're not ready to move on. The next step is what you're going to do is to associate a state with each thing. So what this means is quite simply, you want the person, the client, to experience what they're saying. So instead of just saying stomach ache, you might say, okay, so close your eyes. Can you imagine that stomach ache? No. You need to. Imagine it. Imagine you're in the car. Imagine the sights when your eyes are open, the sounds, the feelings, the wind coming in through the car. You need to understand everyone experiences the world in different ways. So there are 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing, and the other one. I can never remember all 5 when I say it, but there are 5, the 5 senses. I'll do a lot of this: seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. I think that's right, but there are 5 ways we experience the world, and everyone experiences it in different ways. For some people, they see things better. So if you say to someone, can you see yourself in the car? Oh yeah, I can see you there. But for other people, they say no. And this is where therapy often goes wrong, because most people are visual, but that doesn't mean everyone is. So never assume that just because you see things, other people do. So your friend, your client who we're doing this with, you might help to say, can you imagine you're in the car and you can feel the wind blowing through the window? If they say no, what can you hear? And I'll say, oh yeah, I can hear the traffic. Everyone experiences the world in different ways. So you want to what we call anchor these states. So you say, okay, you've got a stomach ache, and your friend, the client, whatever you're working with, might say, yeah, I can feel it now. My stomach is starting to feel like it does when I'm in the car. Great. Next one, the chest goes tight. Now, if you can't physically feel it, sometimes some people will actually start to live this as you do it. If that happens, great, you're doing really well. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work for everyone, but it's a great sign if that happens. So you run through each of the steps, and you must get them to feel that feeling, the stomach ache, the chest going tight, the shoulders aching. And you may find when you do this with people, they may even start to go, oh yeah, I can feel, and they're actually feeling the shoulder as though it's aching. And this, believe it or not, is hypnosis. They're imagining it when it's not actually happening. So you run through each one of those 5 things, and you must get this good. It's no good just saying, no, step 1, on my stomach, step 2, chest goes tight. Yeah. You've got to actually take your time. This can take 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes just to get this anchored. So you need to get it so that whenever you say 1, they go 1, stomach ache. I can feel that. 2, chest goes tight. Yeah, I can feel that. And you'll know when they're getting it. If they're not getting it, maybe this isn't the best technique for them, or you need to spend more time talking about each one and get it so they're experiencing it. This is effectively me trying to teach you how to be a therapist in a few minutes, so I'm doing my best, but there's a lot more detail I'm going into. Now, once you've done that, what you need to do is, the next step is where you start to make the changes. You're going to read out a number, but not in the correct order. So you start off, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you might go 1, and they say stomach ache, and you say 4. What's 4? Sweaty palms, my palms are sweating. 2, my chest's going tight. 5, the grip on the wheel. And the idea is, as you go through, let them experience each step, but increase the speed that you're saying the numbers. It won't work if you just go 1, 4, No, it's got like 1, stomachache, 4, sweaty palms, 2, you don't need to click, I'm just clicking to emphasise the speed, chest goes tight, 5, grip on the wheel. Now what will happen is after a while they will start to forget what the sequence is. So you'll say 1, and when it gets really exciting is when they get the wrong number. So you do 1, stomachache, 3, shoulders ache, 5, and they say, my chest goes tight. No, chest going tight is number 2, not number 5. They've changed the order. So then you go 1, and they'll say, sweaty palms. No, sweaty palms is 4, not 1. Don't tell them when they get it wrong, okay? So you just go 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 1, 4, 5, 1, 2, 5, 4, 3, 1. And this is what the dice are for. If you're on your own, you can just roll it and think, number 6, what was that? There isn't a number 6. Another 6, can you believe that? Look, I hope you can see that. 2, I rolled a double 6. And there isn't a 6 on the list. Never mind. If you roll a 6, roll again. You've got 2 so that you can roll higher numbers if needed. But yeah, so that's what you do. And the idea is, it scrambles. This is what you call scrambling. Eventually, you'll say to them, I want you to run through in order 1. And you might find they're like, well, what was it? 1? That's the idea. It takes a bit of practice, and this is why it doesn't work with like 2 numbers, because you can't really mix up 2 or 3 numbers, it's difficult. 4 to 7 is ideal. If you've got like 10, it's okay, but it might be too many, they get mixed up anyway. So that's the idea of what you do. And I'll tell you the funny story of once I did this, when I was training to be a therapist, and I had this man, and I chose the wrong thing to do with him, because I did this and he said, oh, I'll be good at this, because for years I used to write down lists. I always remembered what each one was. And I went through this for about half an hour and he just kept remembering it every single time. And at the end he said, I've done it. Is that the problem gone? No, because the whole point is you're supposed to get the order mixed up. It's supposed to be that when you go out and drive, you actually think, your mind's thinking, step 1 to 4, you can't recall, it breaks the trigger. You've probably heard when problems are triggered, this breaks the trigger, so we can't remember which way around to do it. Now, this is quite a basic technique, and it does work with symptoms, and I often say, don't work with symptoms. I'm doing the best I can in a video to help as many people as I can. If you do want to get rid of the problem properly and professionally, I always recommend taking professional therapy. It's a lot more detailed than this. This is like a little beginner's basic introduction. This is not the kind of thing I would normally do, but it can work. I've had this work for people who have completely fixed their problem just because of this. So I hope you found that video helpful. Check out these other videos on the screen now for more help with your fear of driving. If you want to book a one-to-one session with me, contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.